warning that the coronavirus pandemic is far from over. Researchers at the University of Minnesota say the outbreak could last as long as 2 years and will not be controlled until 2/3 of the world population is immune. At the same time, social distancing restrictions are being loosened in more states, despite none showing a 2-week decline in coronavirus cases, as laid out in federal health guidelines. The Food and Drug Administration is greenlighting emergency use of an antiviral drug that was found to shorten the recovery time for patients. The nation's death toll from the coronavirus now tops 65,000. But on Friday, the last patient was discharged from the field hospital at New York City's main convention center. That is where Michael George begins our coverage this morning. Michael, good morning.
Jeff, good morning. This convention center, converted to a military field hospital, has really been a symbol for how hard the virus hit New York. But as you mentioned yesterday, a sign of progress as the last patient was released. But doctors are now putting out a warning across the nation saying reopening too early could erase that progress. In California, a fight over access to the beaches. In Maine, the front line is a brewery.
And it's time to get Maine back open.
In state after state, protesters continue to defy orders to stay home and keep businesses closed.
If I walk in the sand and the police want to arrest me, but you're going to have to go into the water and get me.
But a University of Minnesota report released Friday points out the dangers of that attitude. Dr. Michael Osterholm, director of the Infectious Disease Research and Policy Center, spearheaded the study.
That virus will keep transmitting as long as it has susceptible people that they can get at. Now, if we isolated everybody in their own bubble, we would end.
Texas allowed retailers and restaurants to open yesterday, just 1 day after the state reported a record high single-day death toll.
We have a long ways to go in terms of the number of people yet to be infected. We estimate that between 5 to 15% of the U.S. population has been infected, and this virus will not slow down its transmission until we get to 60 to 70%.
For governors basing policy on scientific data and trying to hold the line on reopening, the message is simple.
We're not out of the woods.
But we're not out of the woods yet.
Maryland and Virginia both reported their highest one-day increase in cases Friday. But many who are eligible to return to work may not go back. In Pennsylvania, a mock funeral procession outside a Bell & Evans meat plant underlined the point that meat packers all over are putting their health first. There and at Tyson Foods in Nebraska, workers stayed home until their concerns about health and safety in often cramped conditions are addressed. In the broadest survey of the problem to date, the Centers for Disease Control reported there have been almost 5,000 COVID-19 cases and 20 deaths at 115 meat and poultry processing plants in the 19 states that reported data. But Triumph Foods pork plant in St. Joseph, Missouri is demonstrating what could be the new normal, testing all workers before they can go into the plant.
Wanted to get ahead of the wave instead of behind the wave.
When 92 workers tested positive, they weren't allowed in.
Plant this size can stay in operation, still doing what they do to keep the food supply chain open, and yet still test all their employees simultaneously.
And here in New York, the epicenter of the outbreak, the governor is taking a more cautious approach. Schools will be closed for the rest of the academic school year. Some businesses like construction and manufacturing could reopen in about 2 weeks. And as the warm weather moves in this weekend, people are being told to continue social distancing. Michelle?
And high transmission rates are what we're all trying to avoid. Michael, thank you.